Welcome back to a Maker's Podcast. I am Sean, your host, and today we'll be talking about content, platforms, and why. So, I had a little bit of trouble getting this going just a little bit ago. That's the reason for starting late today. But I've got something playing in the background, and I don't know what it is. So, let me figure out what that is. If you guys can hear me, tell me what you're hearing in the background so I can get that removed. I'm not sure. Alright, let's see. I don't hear anything, just you. Okay. I got something going on. The audio is picking up something. Alright, blue snowball. Okay. Oh well. So anyway, we're going to be talking about content platforms and why. So I want to talk about the different platforms that I use and also take questions from you guys from the chat. And this is bothering me. Oh, I know what it is. So hang on, hang tight just a second. It's my air conditioner. I can see it recording it, but it's not showing up, or you guys can't hear it, but I can see it, so I don't want it to be recording the audio later. So I don't see that. All right, give me just a second. Sorry, guys. And there is technology involved, so we are having to troubleshoot this on the fly. And I can see when I talk that that's being recorded, and so that's good. Okay, so I see your comment, Nathan. Let me shoot over here to the chat. Okay. All right, I'll have to look at this later. If you guys don't hear it, then that's okay. but I hear there's something coming out of my system audio that's triggering the recording software that I'm using. So if you guys can't hear it, oh well, I'll look at it later. All right, so let me jump back over here to the plain view, and as you guys know, I record the podcast as we go, so I'm going to jump back into recording, and then we'll get to the chat here in a few and take some questions. So current state of the shop this week is shop organization with foam drawer inserts. I don't know if you guys caught the IGTV video that I put up on Instagram, but I recorded a video just putting these foam inserts into my drawers here in the shop. So I've got a bank of drawers that I'm sure most of you have seen, but I moved it to a different location, and I'm finally getting those drawers organized with just different screwdrivers and pliers, and just different things that I use throughout the shop on a regular basis. So I wanted to get all of that organized, and so that happened this week, and so I really like that. It is a little bit of work, but in the long run, it's just going to save me a ton of time searching for the tool that I need, or if there's a tool missing, then I'll immediately know that when I open the drawer up. So it'll kind of hold me accountable for cleaning up as I go, and so that will help in that department. So I like it for that reason alone. Plus, I just like to have everything looking tidy and everything to have its own place. So that's why I went with those. Now, a past project, which was last week, I posted a video on the table saw inserts that I got from Matt Plumley over at Gotwood Workshop. Now, I received several comments about the video, just saying that it was useless, or there was no value in this. The video wasn't structured or recorded in the fact that, hey, this is how you make a zero clearance insert, but rather just, it was a shop upgrade for me. I wanted to do that type of video and bring my son into the shop. So it was just for personal reasons. And plus I wanted to show you the process of, inserting it and raising the blade, because that was the first insert that I had, or that I've used. And I've never, raised the blade up into an insert before. And so, maybe that's useful to somebody, but I didn't want anybody to miss the point that I was trying to show you how to make a zero clearance insert. And then other people were commenting saying, why didn't you just make your own? Well, when I first got this saw that I've got, it's the Delta 36-725, they didn't make a zero clearance insert. Delta came out with their version, which wasn't a true zero clearance. It was just for a portion of the opening. But a lot of people that I looked at or followed on the website, my mind just went blank, with the not Instructables, but it's the anyway. A lot of people were using this table saw when it first came out, and so they were trying to make their own zero clearance inserts, and the edges were really thin, and they were having issues, and so it wasn't holding up. And then finally, people started getting the hang of what to do, and there became files for CNC machines to create your own, and then there were some other good ideas on how to make different inserts for that particular saw. And so I just didn't want to go down that road of trying to figure it out. I was going to wait until to see what everybody else did, and then once I got my CNC, I thought, well, I'll do it on the CNC. But in the process of getting my CNC up and running, I found out that Matt sold these, and so I just wanted to support another woodworker in the community, and that's why I went that route. So can't please everybody, but that was the basis behind that project and that video on YouTube. So that is that. Now, a little side project that I'm working on, or that I was working on, was a video for IGTV. I just want to try to figure out the whole platform on Instagram as far as the new IGTV. And that's going to kind of segue us into the topic of discussion for today. But first, I want to thank my Patreon supporters. So Dylan Ray with D Ray's Woodshop over on Instagram and Andrew Walker are my two dedicated patrons. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/Stone and Sons Workshop, or you can support the show by using the super chat over on the live stream in YouTube, if that's where you're watching. So the topic of discussion for today, as I said, is different content platforms and why do I use them. So I want to first start off talking about YouTube, because that seems like that's where a lot of you guys watch the video, consume the content that myself and other creators make. So I use YouTube for videos, and that's how-to videos, vlog styles, like on my second channel here where you're watching this, and then of course live stream. Now I was doing the live stream over on the main channel, but it just didn't seem like it fit, and it kind of just messed up the flow of the the videos that I edit and produce and all that stuff. So this seemed more applicable. It seemed a better fit for YouTube on my second channel. And so I think for the main channel, I'm going to stick to just build videos there. But a lot of you guys interact here on YouTube, and that's good. I like that. But one thing that my main goal with YouTube is, of course, to provide, valuable videos, whether that's for entertainment purposes or how-to videos, to teach people how to do things that I know how to do, and vice versa. I like to learn from YouTube as well, and so that might be the first place that I go when I'm searching for a place that that offers how to do things. And so it really is a really good engine for searching for how to do various things. So number one, that's YouTube, and then also touching on the second channel on YouTube. I get to put out videos like this where I record the podcast, and this type of video is, I guess it's meant for the core, you core guys and gals that follow my content or like to be engaged, or just interact with the community or whatever that looks like. But here on the second channel and this podcast format, it's kind of cool. I like it. I like doing this live stream. It kind of gets me used to the podcast. It gets me in the mood, I guess, for the podcast, with the microphone and in the video as well, with doing other types of videos like vlog style videos and that sort of thing. So I like YouTube for that. Now, the second platform that I like is Instagram, and a lot of you guys and gals follow me over there on Instagram as well. So Instagram for me is a little more versatile as far as pushing out or distributing content, in the fact that I can post a picture or an image with what's going on in the shop, and so it kind of gets the point across. Hey, look, this is what I'm working on. It's just basically people are thumbing through Instagram kind of like they do Facebook, and so you kind of see that image and you might like it or might make a comment, and so that's cool. And so you kind of have a presence there, and you can just do maybe some tips and tricks, or just an update type content image, and it's really easy for content creators to post an image on Instagram. But beyond that, stories is something that I'm trying to get more involved with. I like the stories concept and the interaction, or I guess the different features that go along with stories. That is something that can add a little more value to a post on Instagram, is when you have a short clip or something, but then you also have, say, a link that you can direct more information, or direct people to more information about that post and that kind of thing. So I like it in that aspect. Now, IGTV is something new for Instagram. That's kind of what I'm playing with, and that's what I was mentioning earlier. So I would like to pursue that, and I know it's brand new, and then when something first comes out, kind of like Snapchat or whatever, some people don't want to. Thank you, Nathan, for subscribing. Some people don't want to jump into that, or they don't want to take on something new, and then the whole different vertical video is is just different, and it's for the creator it's a lot different as far as editing video and that kind of thing. But if people are spending more time on Instagram, that's where I want to be able to provide video and content in that format and contribute to the community as far as content goes. So I'm just kind of trying to play around with IGTV and getting the hang of things, and we'll just see where it goes. So that's IGTV with Instagram. Facebook, as far as images and text, you can just make an announcement there, or you can post images. You can also post videos. One thing that I have been doing with Facebook is just adding captions, because there's a lot of people that will again thumb through Facebook the same way as Instagram, but they don't turn their volume on. Same thing with Instagram. But if you don't have something for people to kind of relate to or go by, or kind of tell what's going on in the video, especially if it's just a talking head, if you don't have any captions, then you're going to be lost, and you're not really providing anything except just an uploaded video, basically. So that's something I try to do on Facebook for those that really like Facebook, is just provide those captions there along with the video so they can follow along. And then Twitter, there's some things that I do on Twitter, just short informational text. Like before this went live, I just texted out, hey, I'm fixing to go live here in a few minutes. And then when this did go live, that went out with a link, so you guys can click that and come straight to YouTube or Twitch or whatever that is. So that's good in that aspect. I know a lot of people don't use Twitter just for the simple fact that it's just too much. I mean, if I was not a content creator, and I was just consuming content, I don't know that I would be involved with all of these. So there might be some different folks over on YouTube than there are on Instagram, and same thing with Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. So I just try to spread it out and provide those. I'm going to throw up on the screen all of the social that I'm talking about, so you guys, if you don't follow me on some of these and you want to, there's the different things in the handles and my usernames. But continuing on, as far as so I've mentioned YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That seems to be the main ones. And then I've got Twitch. Just newly introduced Twitch to this podcast live streaming type thing. So I don't really have an audience over on Twitch. There are a couple of people that maybe watch over there and interact, but it's just not, I don't have that following there yet. And that's okay. I just want to, it took a little bit to set it up in the beginning, but that's all I have to do. And then everything else is automated. So why not go ahead and provide content there for the ones that like to use Twitch? So that's kind of my mindset with all this. Now, these next couple of content platforms are probably two of the most important ones. Number one is my website. So on my website, I consider that a content platform, and that's where you can find everything that I do as far as YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the things that I've mentioned here so far. You can find that stuff on my website. And so if I did a video on YouTube, usually 9 times out of 10 there is a website article that goes along with that video, and so you can watch the video, but if there are any resources that go along with that, or there's even more details most of the time within that article, so there's always a link there in the description of the YouTube video that will take you to my website, and then there you could read all of the details about the project and get more information on what you just watched. And then along with that, for example, just thinking back, there was a metal pipe and wood shelf that I made, and I did a video on it and I uploaded it to YouTube, and I did a website article for it. And so there on the website article, within the article was a link to download the shopping list to make your own. And so those are the kinds of resources that I'm talking about. So, within the blog article, there's some extra value there, in my opinion. A lot of that stuff is free. You just have to sign up through the newsletter and receive that stuff. And then sometimes there are links to different tools that I use, which are Amazon links. And so that could be a whole nother episode as far as revenue streams with content creators. But, it's no additional, it didn't cost the consumer or the content creator or the content consumer anything, to get that shopping list or get the whole list of things you need to make your own pipe and wood shelf. You could just download the PDF that I created, and then go shopping with it. Or, the Amazon links doesn't cost you anything to see where I got the specific tools that I'm using. I get questions all the time like, hey, where did you get that saw, or where did you get that drill, whatever. And so the links are there. But anyway, so that's what I use the website for. There's all of my videos, all of my website articles. There's an Instagram feed there on my website. I've got links to Twitch and Facebook there. The only thing that you cannot find on my website is my Facebook group. So I've got a private Facebook group that I have a couple different moderators for that group, and it's a place to ask questions and get opinions and advice on different things. A lot of people in the group say, hey, I'm fixing to upgrade my saw. Does anyone would anyone be interested in this saw? Or hey, I found this on Craigslist. Any of you guys in this area, it's a great deal. Or what do you think about adding this feature to this, or what do you think about adding these this add-on to my bandsaw? Just different things. It's just a really good group. Clean group is what I like to keep. I like to keep a clean group to where kids can get involved and all that kind of stuff. But you cannot find that group on my website. The only way to get into that group is to come in through my newsletter, and then there's an invitation there. And the reason I do that is because those people are, interested in what's going on with Stone & Sons Workshop. And so if they're interested enough to receive my newsletter or project post, then they might want to enter in that group to stay plugged in and just have a community there, just all nice and neat right there on Facebook. So anyway, all these different things are for different people. Like YouTube is, like I've already said, is just strictly videos and how-tos, and you may consume it and leave, and that's fine. Instagram is a totally different ball of wax, because you can comment there, and there's other things you can do while you're there. And then the website is just a all-in-one content platform for what I do. It's my hub. It's where everything is centered. It's got everything that's going on here. And then beyond that is the podcast. So these podcasts are or I created the podcast for a couple of different reasons. Number one, to create the audio version of content, which if you're in the content creation world, you know who Gary Vee is, and he preaches about the video, written, and audio. Those are the three main ways to distribute content, because people consume content in different ways. So that was one of the reasons that I created the podcast. Number two, it gives me an outlet to voice the things that I would like to say in an audio version, and then also refer back to different things. And I'll even throw a number three in here, which is a big part of this, is the community. So I like to do the community on air, the show shout outs, and we'll get into those things here in just a minute. But it gives me a chance to, shout out someone that doesn't necessarily get a lot of exposure. Even if they do, maybe some of my audience or some of you guys don't know some of the followers that I shout out. And so, it's just a lot of fun in addition. And then plus, I can get my son on here. Like last episode, he joined and talked about learning new things. And that was a great episode. I got some really good feedback from that. So this will be another outlet that my son can join in and learn how to do these things. And, who knows, he may be interested in pursuing something like this. So, that's the podcast, and you can also find the podcast over on the website. And this is not a plug for everything that I've got going on. Of course, I'm going to tell you about it, and, I'm going to provide links in the show notes and all that stuff. But I mainly want to talk about all this because there's just so many new things coming out, like the IGTV, and then you have the community tab on YouTube that you may or may not even know about, but it's there, and of course, there's Patreon where there's a feed only for Patreon supporters, and people. It's just these social media platforms are changing every day, and I want to be able to stay on top of these things because that is what I do. I'm a full-time content creator, and if you are interested in Facebook, I want to be there. If you're interested in podcasts, I want to be there. I don't want to overextend myself, but if there's a way for me to provide that content for the people that want to see it or hear it, I want to be there. Especially if this is what I do for a living, and I want to do it 1,000% and just, at an excellence level. That's just the way I am. I may not do everything perfect or the right way, but at least I'm going to try. Just as an example, with this live streaming, I'm live streaming to YouTube and Twitch at the same time. Well, I set it up one time. I don't have to worry about that. And so there's that avenue where I'm providing, number one, I'm recording a podcast, also live streaming to YouTube and Twitch. That's 3 different platforms at one time. So I'm kind of, making the most of what I'm doing here. But whether or not you are a content creator or not, this episode is for you because these are the different places that I am. I hope that you would follow me in these different social media outlets. But also, I want to know what your favorite outlet is. I want to know what your favorite social media is. Like, where do you like to interact? Is it YouTube comments? Is it over on Instagram? Or do you like Facebook groups? What are your thoughts on these different avenues of content creation and the way you consume things? So I want to take that feedback and try to make what I'm doing a little bit better, because I'll give you a little secret, or not a secret, but I'll admit something here that I've never said before, and I'll just leave it here on the podcast and I won't say it anywhere else. But every day that goes by, I enjoy Instagram a little bit more and I enjoy YouTube a little bit less. And the reason for that is because it takes so much time to create a video for YouTube that it almost takes the fun out of it. Now, I don't want to say that and sound discouraging. I'm going to continue with YouTube and also continue with the other platforms, but Instagram is a lot more fun. It's a lot faster, and I don't want to sound lazy because this is a ton of work to do all this, but Instagram is a lot quicker, and it does provide several different ways to push out content and interact with the followers there. YouTube takes a ton of time, and the content creators that put out videos every single week on YouTube, and I've been there, and I'm sure you've noticed here lately that I've just kind of slacked off of that because I want to keep enjoying what I'm doing. I don't want to get to the point to where I don't enjoy putting out content, putting out videos, and burn myself out. And so some of the followers that you follow or subscribe to on YouTube, they may be clicking right along, and then all of a sudden they just drop off. And that's probably the very reason that happens, is because burnout, because you try to do too much. And so that's why I've kind of said, okay, maybe every 2 weeks I'll put a video out. I want to provide the best video that I can, And I can't do that week after week after week after week because it's just taxing, especially when you want to try to do all these other platforms. You know, you can push it out and repurpose, content here and there, and I do that. But I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it in the way that I want to do it. So anyway, I would love your feedback on that. If you want to drop me a line, an email, stoneandsons.net/contact. We'll get you to my contact page on my website. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can drop comments down into this live stream episode. If you're listening to this on the podcast, leave me a comment on the podcast. If you're over on the website, I always put the show notes as articles on my website. Leave me a comment there. Anywhere you can tweet me if you'd like to, or DM me on Instagram. Whatever your preference is, I want to hear from you. I would love to improve what I'm doing, but I also want to push out content where you want to see it. And so if I get 1,000 people that says, I do not like Instagram, I hate Instagram, and like everybody that watched my stuff or followed what I'm doing hated Instagram, then I would spend more of my time somewhere else. So with that being said, just leave me some content, some feedback on what we've been talking about here. So that pretty much covers all of the different platforms. There might be a couple of more like Pinterest, that I'm not really, I do post there periodically, and it's something that I want to continue to try to get better at with, over on Pinterest. But for the most part, these are the areas that I'm at. These are where I push out most of my content. So yeah, leave me some feedback there. I would love to hear what you have to say. All right, so Community on Air is one of the segments that I like to do with the podcast. So with Community on Air, I like to go into Instagram, see what other people are up to, take questions from the chat, do the show shout out, and those kinds of things. So we're going to go into Instagram Live, but I want you to throw in some questions into the chat, and when we get through Instagram Live, I'll go back and answer those questions. If you're listening to this on a podcast, feel free to interact with Twitter. Just tweet me a question if you hear something on the podcast, and just use the hashtag #MakersPodcast. And so I would love to hear from you in that aspect. Go over on the website and comment on the show notes for each episode if you have a question. And by the way, that's where I'll provide all of the links that are talked about and discussed and mentioned on the podcast and here on the live stream. Those links will be in the show notes on the website for every episode. So I'm going to take you into Instagram now. And then while we're doing this, I'd like for you to throw in some questions in the chat, and we'll come back and answer those. So, all right, let's look at Instagram here. All right, so I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. For those of you that are listening on the podcast, I know you can't see this, but I like to go into Instagram and check out different projects that people are working on. All right, so first thing that pops up is DIY creators, and I talked about him last week. He is making some really cool stuff, and this looks like this week he's working on a little laptop stand, maybe a standing desk that he can roll around in the shop. Maybe, I'm not real sure. Let's see what he says. He says a standing desk, and he says this should be super handy to have in the shop, and when I get tired of sitting at my main workstation. So he says that's a new video on his channel. And as I said last week, there is plans for me to visit Glenn over at DIY Creators later on in the next couple of months. So be on the lookout for that. All right, so what else? Shanty to Chick. Let's see what else is going on. Dimension Woodworks is working on This is a throwback Thursday to the first piece of casework he ever did. He says this is eventually became the vanity that he built for his wife for their 5th anniversary. And I've seen the full picture of the completed project. It's really, really good. It's if you don't follow Dimensions, check him out. So Sam Ryan, that she's on that the woodshop hashtag that I follow. Jocko whatever. I just recently, and I don't say this to boast or anything, but I just recently supported Jocko over on his Kickstarter campaign with his new maker knife. I thought it was really, really cool, and I know that it takes a ton of time to do things like that, and he does some really fantastic stuff. So if you don't follow Jocko, go over there and follow him. Casey Neistat's always making some cool stuff. Jocko again. The Dusty Life podcast. It's another podcast you should check out. Inventables, and they reposted. Looks like Paul Jackman's project that he did for Carolina. If you don't know Paul, and I'm sure most of you do, but you need to go check out Paul Jackman. He does some really cool stuff. His editing skills are just, really amazing. And Inventables, the ones that are reposting this, they're the ones that make the X-Carve, the CNC machine that I just recently got. So be sure to check out Inventables and Jackman Works. Alabama Woodworker. You guys can hear the sound there. He's doing some edge banding with a pretty cool looking little jig that he's got for edge banding. So check him out if you don't follow him. He just completed a crib for his new kid. So yeah, check him out. Let's see. I followed several different accounts like Jet Woodworking and that kind of thing. Hillview making some really awesome planes. Caleb over at You Can Make This Too. Let's see what else we got. Tim Sway is always making original pieces. Made an old chair. He made a chair from an old Ford tailgate, thanks to his Patreon supporters. So that's cool. Ruckus Woodshop, looks like he got a lot for the 4th of July. Looks like he had a lot of fun there. I also follow the hashtag farmhouse just because I love the look. I love the decor of a farmhouse.
Hey, what's up?
So anyway, Jack's Design is Mr. Jack is a really cool guy, really, really smart, and super talented. This guy makes a lot of really cool stuff. So follow him on Instagram. And that's JAXDIS or DESIGNNET. I think it's kind of goes along with his website, jacksdesign.net. I think. Let me check him out and see. I don't want to give the wrong website. JAX-design.net. Yeah. I got to meet Mr. Jack in Kansas City, Missouri, when we had one of the... So, I'm going to go back over here to the... I know the chat's here on the screen as far as the live stream goes. I'm going to go back to the main YouTube chat and scroll back just a little bit and see what's going on over there. Let's see. Greg Dent says, "Hey Sean, what's up, Greg?" Nathan and Greg, I guess, know each other from the group. Let's see. Nathan says he has the Delta. It isn't bad, but it isn't a good one as the one you got, huh? Okay. Let's see. Dylan's is back. What's up, man? Let's see who else has got. Nathan Carlson says, "I'm interested to see if IGTV will start to do advertising or a way for creators to receive income." Just to touch on that, if you're a content creator and you have your own products, you can do that right away in different ways. So, but I would be curious as well to see how they do that, if they do. Let's see. Greg Dent says, maybe I am getting older than I think. I can't get Twitch working. They refuse to help me to get logged in. I messed up his passwords. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you know, just there are barriers to different social media outlets, but you know, it's not they're not all for everybody. And he also says that Instagram and Facebook, he doesn't get into much, but YouTube is his main source. So let's keep scrolling. All right, so YouTube and Facebook primarily. He says, I don't have enough time in the day to watch anywhere else. Yeah, I totally understand that. Dylan's Woodwork says, I stick with YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Much more than that is overwhelming for him. Still working a full-time job, and so he says he hopes to change that someday. Okay. So yeah, let me see if there's anybody over on Twitch. There is one viewer over there, which is fine. Like I said, I don't have a following over on Twitch as of yet. Dylan's just said he needs to put in more on Instagram. Yeah, I would agree. I like Instagram in that way. So, you know, I like the way they've got everything laid out as far as the ease of posting images, you know, video. I'm not sure about the vertical. I'm, you know, just kind of playing around with that. And then the stories are really good too. So, and I hear that the more you get involved with their new features, that it helps you grow your audience. That's not really why I want to try IGTV, but it is a way for me to, you know, leverage that if it's something that I can, you know, get into fairly easy without a ton of work. Because everybody knows that just like here watching on YouTube, you have the wide format. With IGTV, it's going to be more vertical. Basically, you just take your screen that you're used to watching and just flip it up 90 degrees, and there is what you'll see on Instagram. So we'll see how it all works out and pans out. But so yeah, that is the chat. I'm going to jump over to show shout out. Okay, so today's show shout out goes to Evan and Caitlin. If you look at their Instagram account, it'll say husband and wife team, amateur makers, and they are high five experts. They said they put up a new video every week or so, and that or so is to kind of cover their rear end if they miss a week. But I totally understand where that's coming from. But if you don't know Evan and Caitlin, they are a husband and team. I had a chance to meet them in February of this year at Workbench Con in Atlanta, and they're a really cool couple. They are passionate about what they're doing. They have done a lot of cool stuff. They're not afraid to try new things, and you know, they've made a trip to several of, you know, different content creators, been to several events, and so they're not necessarily new to the community or to the scene, but they are doing some cool stuff, so you should check them out on Instagram. Their handle for Instagram is Evan and Caitlin, all together. EvanandKatlyn. Evan and Caitlin. And you can find them on YouTube as well at youtube.com/users/Evan and Caitlin. And I'll leave all these links down in the show notes if you're interested in checking them out. But the latest video they just did was a super soaker, and it was just really funny. So check them out. They do some good stuff. Really cool couple, and that is my show shout out for the week. Okay, so I want to remind you guys that you can submit questions a few different ways. One way is to just tweet me over on Twitter. My handle there is Stone and Sons WS, and just tweet me your question. If you want to, put the hashtag in A Makers Podcast, and then I'll find it that way, or I'll see it when you tweet me. You can call in. This is a U.S. number, 1-662-368-8331. That is a Google Voice number. When you dial that or when you call that, you can just hit the call button there on my Instagram, and it will go straight to a voicemail within Google, and you'll hear my voice, and I'll tell you to leave your question, your Instagram handle, and your website. That I would like to share that as well as your question, and then that's it. You hang up after you leave your question, and that's all it is. And then I'll play that here on the podcast and feature those questions here. And then also use the chat here on the live stream. Even if you're watching this later, throw it in the description. I'd love to look at those questions and feature them on future shows. So submit those questions, everybody. You can go to stoneandsons.net/audio, and there you can find the links for all of this right there in the sidebar. If you're on desktop, if you're on mobile, scroll down, you'll see it, or you can get to it at amakerspodcast.com. So that is how you submit a question. Now I want to jump back over here real quick and answer Nathan Carlson's question. He says, when are you and Jay working on another project together? I'm not sure yet. We possibly could be here in the near future. I'm not sure. Really haven't talked about much as far as project goes or collaborating, but that doesn't mean we're not going to. Jay and I get together every now and then. Still, just we talk business. We hang out sometimes. So I'm not sure when there will be another collaboration, but there very well could be. But you guys will know about it before anybody else does, the ones that follow us or follow me here, because I'll let you know. So, all right, guys, in summary of today's show, we talked about all of these different platforms, where and why I distribute the content that I distribute. I'm interested in your feedback as to what you like, what type of platform or social media outlet do you like, what is your favorites, and the reason for all of that is so I can just distribute my content to a broader audience, to reach as many of you that I possibly can without overwhelming myself, and you guys as well. So be sure to follow up with the show notes on this episode. You can find the links. If you're listening to this podcast, it'll be there. The link to the show notes will be there in the description of this podcast episode. If you're watching this, I'll have the links to the show notes on this video later. But you can always find the show notes at stoneandsons.net/audio, and then you can always see the latest episode, and the article will be there below it. So next week, there will be no live stream for the podcast. There will be a podcast episode coming out next week, but there will be no live stream next week. So thank you guys for the ones that showed up today and asked questions. Always appreciate your support. See ya. Hey, before you go, make sure to subscribe to the podcast anywhere podcasts are played by searching for Stone and Sons. Also, to get notifications when I go live, follow me on Twitch and subscribe to me on YouTube. You can find all of the links below or in the description, including the show notes from today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. See ya.